Alrighty, guys, excited to be back. It is Friday, and the date is January 19th, so already flying by this entire month. And Ohio State is really in transition right now. And I believe that Ohio State is actually making too many overtures in terms of I think that Ohio State and Ryan Day, I think that they're overcorrecting. I think that they're overcorrecting a kind of problem. So Ryan Day, I believe, is a really good play caller. And I believe that that's his MO, is quarterback play and being a play caller. And he's trying to take Ohio State, which is a splashy, explosive offense. And what he wants to do is turn it into a little bit of Michigan, a little bit of Georgia. He's trying to make Ohio State into a program in which it's not, and he's actually losing his identity and losing his strength as a head coach. You know, if Marvin Harrison didn't go down, I think Georgia needed to come back from 13 points to beat Ohio State. So Ohio State, if they made that field goal, a lot of ifs, I totally get it, but they were projected to beat Georgia in that game. I really think that C.J. Stroud could have won a national championship, and then C.J. Stroud would have been the first overall pick. He would have went to the Carolina Panthers, and it all would have, transpired from there. So really looking at Ohio State, they have been good enough. They've been good enough, in my opinion, to really win these games and be in these national title games. But then, especially with really good quarterback play, I think that Ohio State's defense, it's not like USC. USC has a really good offense, but they don't really have a great program. Ohio State still had really good edge rushers. Their defense got nice. But on the offensive side of the ball, they're overthinking it. They're trying to become this power run game now with average quarterback play, whether it's Kyle McCord. I think Will Howard, I've watched Will Howard a lot at Kansas State. He has a decent arm, but he's not that mobile to me. He doesn't have that superstar element to his game. And I believe that if you got a Cam Ward, or you went all out and tried to get a real bona fide, talented five-star quarterback, maybe Dante Moore, maybe Cameron Ward, you tried to get those quarterbacks, and then you let Ryan Day continue to call the plays. Right now at Ohio State, Ryan Day is kind of panicking, and he doesn't need to panic at all. I know that they go out there and they lose to Michigan, and they've lost to Michigan 3 straight years, and that's unacceptable. However, in those games, they've shored up their defense a little bit with Jim Knowles. And, last year, I just look at last year or 2 years ago, and really J.J. McCarthy just had the game of his life at Ohio State. The other game, you had Aiden Hutchinson, and Michigan's great. Michigan's a really good team. And then last year you went on the road, and that was a very nip and tuck, really close game on the road. But Michigan's the national champs, and you went there on the road and played them, I could argue, as tough as anybody in the country. But now you're now having to get a new athletic director in there in Ross Bjork. And really Ross Bjork coming to Ohio State, Ross Bjork has leapfrogged from Ole Miss to Texas A&M. Ross Bjork is a journeyman AD. He's constantly leaping at the next job. That's constantly what he is doing. Then you have, why are you getting Bill O'Brien? I mean, Bill O'Brien is so inflexible. His offense with Jalen Milroe was pathetically bad, and he also trashed Jalen Milroe in that process. His offense last year at the New England Patriots was abysmal. And at Alabama, half the fans wanted him out. I mean, he wasn't even doing that well at Alabama. So there's going to be a lot of kids that don't want to play for Bill O'Brien. And Bill O'Brien, traded away DeAndre Hopkins. He's not known as, this great collaborator. And if you're going to hire Bill O'Brien, you're going to have to yield everything in your program to Bill O'Brien. He's such a polarizing person. I understood Bill Belichick bringing in Bill O'Brien because they were desperate to try to get that offense afloat. But Ohio State is not desperate. They're not even at the point of desperation like even James Franklin in Penn State, whose offense has been terrible. Ryan Day is a really damn good play caller. He's had Justin Fields and, again, developed and made Justin Fields into who he is. He's right there with C.J. Stroud, Corey Dennis, Brian Hartline, and this entire Ohio State offensive staff is damn good enough to be elite. And they've had elite offense. And I don't get why Ryan Day is trying to bring in such a polarizing personality, such as Bill O'Brien, that could torpedo a lot of what you're trying to do. He could create arguments. He can be very temperamental in the process. His offenses haven't even been that great. And now you're creating a whole bunch of possible culture problems if Bill O'Brien and Ryan Day are not going to be aligned on the same path. Because Ryan Day needs to believe in himself that he is a great play caller. And you're seeing right now Ryan Day have doubts about his own ability, and he's kind of getting away from what made Ohio State great under Ryan Day, which is elite quarterback play, elite wide receiver play, great offense, and a defense that can, make splash plays and be fine. So, every program, even Alabama, when Alabama was winning their championships, or even Michigan, you're not going to, it's hard to create a perfect team. All right, a team that is so explosive on offense and defensively are just absolutely terrific. You look at Georgia, you're going to have the pendulum in one way or the other. Your offense is basically going to either be a little bit better than your defense, or your defense is going to be a little bit better. It's almost impossible to think of like a perfect team. Look at Joe Burrow, look at Cam Newton. When those offenses were amazing, the defenses were suitable. When you look at Clemson, I guess, with Trevor Lawrence, the defense was great, the first year they won the championship. And Lawrence was a supporting cast quarterback that had the ability to be fantastic. You want to strive for that balance. You never want to be awful on both sides of the ball. You always want to be a physical team. All right, this year USC didn't have physicality running the ball or playing defense at all. So right now with Ohio State's offense, in terms of quarterback developing, they're getting away from that. Lincoln Kineholtz and also Devin Brown. Devin Brown's a 5-star quarterback. I think Devin Brown has some talent. I know he kind of got injured. Ryan Day needs to focus on quarterback play. He needs to continue to keep his strength. And he's getting away from it. He's letting his strength go by the wayside. And suddenly when Ryan Day and that strength, which is quarterback play, when suddenly your bread and butter goes away, it's like John Stockton not operating a pick and roll and focusing all on defense instead of hitting Karl Malone in the pocket on pick and roll. That is what's going on now with Ohio State. Ryan Day is letting the outside noise kind of creep in. The us against the world mentality sometimes can really boil up too much. It can boil up too much that you start to get crazy yourself and not just operate. And I think that Ryan Day's letting the emotions of the outside world, letting the emotions in the fishbowl get to him. And he's not just taking a step back, relaxing, and realizing that he needs some self-confidence. Right now, Ryan Day needs someone to pat him on the back and say, listen, Ryan, you're a stud play caller. You're an excellent offensive coach. You got Jim Knowles to run your defense, who's a veteran. Embrace being spectacular on offense again. And right now, hiring Bill O'Brien, I don't see this as a long-term solution. I see this as a possible disaster of a situation at Ohio State. It is going to be interesting to see how this ages and how this plays out. My opinion and this move, all right, at Ohio State. You got a guy in Ryan Day who wins about 80% of his games. And now the Big Ten Conference for Ryan Day is actually getting better so that your strength of schedule is actually going to get better. All right, so you can kind of see how good your program is, because unfortunately the Big Ten West was so down and all these other programs that it's really a thankless job at Ohio State. It's a first world problem situation where you're killing every single opponent. You're going 11-0 and then you're losing the one game. And I know that makes that one game so great. But going 11-0 is not easy. I don't care if you're at Alabama or anywhere. And eventually Ryan Day and Ohio State, the situation could get so bad that Ross Bjork and that Ryan Day is going to need another college job where Ryan Day again has the freedom of growth, because unfortunately at Ohio State, he is at a tremendous job. He is getting paid so well. He has a program in which a lot of other people would really, really covet, but the expectations is really getting to Ryan Day and it's getting to Ohio State. So that's where I stand on Ross Bjork, on the hiring of Bill Obrien to Ohio State.